For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son. We all know that passage from John 3:16 and going into verse 17. Dad, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about God's amazing love for us and Jesus' amazing love for us after we finish talking about God's love for us.
Yeah.
It's how incredibly he loved us by sending Jesus.
Yeah. The passage here from John 3:16, we see it on maybe the most well-known passage. People put it on posters and hold it up at sports games. Talks about God sending Jesus.
Yes.
But I think it's so important, those first few words, for God so loved that he did this. God is motivated, has always been motivated by his love for us, for you. Dad, will you read for us from Psalm?
Well, and also he wanted to take away our sin. And so he sent him not only just to come to the earth, but to go to the cross for us and take away our sin. Okay.
Will you read from Psalm 103?
Yes. Psalm 103 talks about, Psalm 103 verses 8 and verses 11 and 12. The Lord is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in love. For as high as the heavens are above the earth, so great is his love for those who fear him. For as great as the east is from the west, so far as he removed our transgressions from us. That's how great God's. It's an incredible amount of love. Let's open our minds to understand it.
Yeah. Love this Psalm, Psalm 103. And just notice the words that David uses to describe God's love. Abounding.
Yes.
High.
Yeah.
High as the heavens are above the earth. Great. So great is his love. Far as east is from west.
East and west.
So far. So abounding, high, great, far. He's trying to help us understand just the enormity of God's love for you and for me, for us.
Let's understand it and then let it help us not only to know that we're loved, but then teach us to love other people.
And it's not just God's love, right, Dad? It's Jesus' love. Jesus says, as the Father has loved me, so have I loved you.
Yes.
So when God sent Jesus to the earth to die for our sin,
John 15:9.
Jesus says, as the Father's loved me, so have I loved you. So he's showing us the love of God in action. Dad, how did Jesus show us God's love, in action during his time on earth?
He did it by serving. He served people so much. He healed sickness. He brought people back from death. He was patient and kind and loving, even though they criticized him. And even when his own disciples denied they knew him as he went to the cross, he forgave them and had mercy on them. And so he will do with us too. We can know he'll be merciful to us. He was kind and merciful, even though we're sinners.
Yeah. We've got a few articles here, 2 articles on God's love and Jesus' love. And I love the part, Dad, where you talk about Jesus with his 12 disciples, the way that he showed them so much love. When you read the Gospels over and over, these guys, we relate to them because they were so imperfect. They would argue and they would bicker and they had ego and lack of understanding and silly questions, it seems sometimes. But Jesus showed so much love to them through his patience. And I love that point that you make in the article.
Yes.
It's encouraging to me.
He goes in Matthew 26, 37, 39, and verse 42. He takes him to pray with him as he's preparing to go to the cross. He said he took Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, my soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. And he said, stay here and keep watch with me. And he prayed to God, saying, my Father, if it's possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will. Then he prayed about that, and then he goes and prays about it a second time. He said, my Father, if it's not possible, this cup be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done. So that's the amazing love of Jesus. He had to face an incredible trial and overcome it. And he prayed to God to help him and to go to the cross. And he did it out of love, but it was a challenge for him.
Yeah. He said in John 15, greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends, which is exactly what he did for these friends,
Yes.
imperfect though they were. He was patient with them, he taught them, and ultimately he laid down his life for them. And of course, for us, the ultimate display.
It's John 15:13. Yeah.
Dad, you want to read and comment on Hebrews 4, your final passage from
Yes.
the article here?
We can learn that Jesus understands our trials and our temptations, and because he went through them, he's able to help us right now with ours. It says, for we do not have, this is Hebrews 4:15-16, we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, and yet was without sin. Let us then approach the throne of grace with confidence, so we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. Brothers and sisters, we can know that God and that Jesus will help us in our time of need, and we can overcome these things because he loves us so much.
Amen. So much love there that
Yes.
he would go through the
Yes.
suffering, share in our suffering and our temptations.
Yes, he shared in what we go through.
Yeah, that's abounding love.
Yes.
Hope you're encouraged
Yeah.
today by the love that God has for you, the love that Jesus has for you and for all of us.
Yes. I'll do an article next time on how God teaches us now how to love each other. That'll come out next without a video.
Amen. It's all about love.
Amen.
Take care. We'll see you next time.
Yes.